Hi students, in this tutorial I want to talk about variables in programming. So what are variables actually? So variables are actually a placeholders of data, and those data can be of a specific type. So look at this picture here. As you can see, we have a box here, right? And here it says the name of the box is identifier, and we have the value 23. And as you can see, we have an arrow here that is actually pointing to the box. And this means that we can actually put this value 23 into this identifier box. And later, I can actually access this 23 by just referring to the name of this box, identifier. So later, when I say identifier, I can easily access number 23. So that actually literally means that I can access 23. So when I say identifier, this literally means that I am saying 23, right? So that's the whole concept of variables in programming. These are actually just placeholders of data, and this is a very important concept in programming. In computer programming, a variable is a storage location paired with an associated symbolic name. So, for example, as you can see, we have a data number 23, and as you can see, look at the box, and the name of the box is identifier, right? This is actually a symbolic name, for example, an identifier, which contains some known or unknown quantity of information to as a value. So we have the value 23 here, and this box actually does contain this value. The variable name is the usual way to reference the stored value. This separation of name and content allows the name to be used independently of the exact information it represents. So this is a very a powerful concept. This means that it doesn't matter what is the value that is actually stored inside this box. You can access this value by just referring to the name of this box. And here, let me tell you that the variable name is the usual way to reference the stored value, right? The identifier in computer source code can be bound to a value during the runtime. And the value of the variable may thus change during the course of program execution. So I'll talk more about that later. Don't worry about that here. Variables in programming may not directly correspond to the concept of variables in mathematics. This is a very important concept. Please pay attention here. For example, when you actually assign a value to a variable, you are putting that value to that variable, right? But it is not the same concept as variables in mathematics. Don't mistake that. Don't actually think that, yes, okay, this is actually a variable. Okay, we had mathematics. We had also variables in mathematics. No, this is not the same. And this is not how you think. The value of a computing variable is not necessarily part of an equation or formula as in mathematics. I'll talk more about that later. Don't worry if you don't get what I'm saying now. In computing, a variable may be employed in a repetitive process, assigned a value in one place. So this assign is very important. You're going to hear that word a lot in this course. I'm not going to use the equal. I'm going to use assign. Then, so assigned a value in one place, then used elsewhere, then reassigned a new value and used again in the same way. Variables in computer programming are frequently given long names to make them relatively descriptive of their use. So this is very important. It's very important that you name your box it's very important that you give a meaningful name. Okay, do not use just names that others cannot understand. Or maybe later, 6 months later, you want to actually look at your codes and you do not understand, okay, what's this variable? What is going to do this variable? What's the name of this variable? Okay, this is very important that you actually give meaningful names to your variables. Whereas variables in mathematics often have terse, 1 or 2 character names for brevity in transcription and manipulation. So don't mistake that. Don't think that, okay, we have variables in mathematics, and you may think that, okay, that's the same concept. No, these two concepts are completely different. I'll talk more about that later. A variable storage location may be referred by several different identifiers. A situation known as aliasing, assigning a value to the variable using one of the identifiers, will change the value that can be accessed through the other identifiers. So again, don't worry, I'll talk more about that later. So I think that's enough for this tutorial, and now you have actually a brief understanding about variables in a programming. So if you have any questions about this concept, please post a discussion in the course, and then I'll do my best to answer all of your questions. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next tutorial.